Recognize Sask Chairman, Senator Wicker.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Kelly, as you leave, because I'm going to follow up on the very important lines of questioning that you pursued. I was planning on asking about what extra things your command has been required to do for less buying power. But let's talk about the gray zone and follow up if we can on that. Do you find that there's not enough coordination in the irregular warfare field, and would you recommend any changes in the way our Defense Department is organized with regard to no one having a particular domain over that particular issue and coordinating it across the various commands?
Well, thank you for pointing that out. Certainly over the last 20 years plus, we've seen our counterterrorism muscle be exercised tremendously and our irregular warfare muscle not so much. But nowadays, we are certainly exercising that muscle and meeting and deterring, as the Senator alluded, China where they are and where they're trying to be. SOLIC itself.
So, okay, what are they? Tell us and those listening, what sort of things specifically, some examples of what the Chinese are doing?
Well, Senator, certainly we can get into more details in the closed session, but okay. It's safe to say where areas where you would not think China is, they are. They're trying to be there, not only in the South China Sea, the first island chain, but in the Southern Hemisphere. And we have specific examples that we can point to show where we have met, deterred, and even ejected their influence from certain areas. And so it's incumbent upon us to not only just be counter-terrorist experts, but also irregular warfare specialists.
You can talk about the economic warfare in this hearing, can you not?
For sure, yes, sir. And that's, as you alluded to, it's in China, it's a whole of government approach when it comes to economic warfare. And that's what General Fenton's actually starting a new program to bring that together, to harness not only attention amongst our economic machines here in the United States, but to show them where they could draw their power to help our nation as well.
Okay, so are we organized sufficiently in this area, or should one office, one person be in charge of coordinating this for either of you?
In the irregular warfare arena, we are sufficiently organized within SOLIC. We have a department, we have a team, an actual DASD, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, that has irregular warfare within its charter that it's responsible for and leads through the department in terms of helping combatant commands draw campaign plans that involve irregular warfare and educating throughout the joint force in terms of irregular warfare is not just a soft opportunity, it's a whole of Department of Defense opportunity.
Senator, I would add,
sure.
I think for now, sufficiently organized. You know, as we talk and work through this, it's through Secretary Jenkins on their policy side, and I think for SOCOM, it's unequivocal that we do irregular warfare, and our components and our operational elements know it. They go back to the SOCOM headquarters or geographic combatant commanders. What I would offer is, I think it's always worth relooking because of the pace of the world and the way the world's changing in all type of levels. And I talk about modernizing authorities. And I think it's always good to keep an eye on things so we're not complacent, or even as we think about technology, how fast it's moved. My sense is there's certainly a need to relook authorities to make sure that they have not stayed stagnant or they have moved as fast as we need them.
Okay, well, you know, I might want to have a conversation, an ongoing conversation with you, General, and for as long as I can, Mr. Jenkins, about how we could perhaps make the coordination better in this area. We're intruding on the time, Madam Chair, but let me just say, there's been a 35% increase from the COCOMs for your capabilities in the last 3 years. Is that right, General?
That's correct, Senator.
And 170% increase in SOCOM crisis response missions, including but not limited to hostage rescues?
Yes, sir. In fact, we just updated the numbers after we got a chance to see, and I think today I reported 200% in 3.5 years.
Okay, all right, so instead of 170%. And then manpower cuts of nearly 5,000 personnel in recent years. How have those come about?
Well, Senator, a couple things. I think they're through the lens of the defense planning scenario and the work that the service has to do, along with the department, against any potential scenario, and I'll leave it at that because we could talk more in a classified session. My sense is that services took a look at the lens that they were given through those scenarios and came away with, we don't need X number of SOF. And over time, my sense is that that continued certainly to gain traction in the department. And as a result, I think you're very aware of a point last year where Secretary of Defense Austin made a decision to reduce SOF by 3,000 people.
Well, have these crisis response requests gone unanswered?
Senator, that
Everything you're facing with the lack of funding and
Sure.
the lack of purchasing power and
Yeah.
cuts of 5,000?
as I said in my opening statement, crisis response is the one place that I'm taking no risk. So we put everything we have against the crisis response today because our sense is that is a sacred obligation, presidentially directed, SecDef directed. We cannot fail.
And so the other things that you might put behind those crisis response things might be, for example?
Senator, I feel like we're absolutely taking risks in two places, modernization and deterrence. Deterrence would be that mission that we are taking risk in. And we're taking risk because, in my sense, we are unable to answer the combatant commanders' requirements to the level that they have requested and certainly need. And when I look at that, that is risk to them and certainly risk to your soft forces. And that we're bringing the value that we could be bringing to the combatant commands in preventing great power conflict and certainly preparing for it.
One other thing, Madam Chair. I just hope the General understands the committee's position on both sides of the dais, that we need to hear fully from you on your unfunded requirements. Tell us what you need, be honest about it, and we'll try to get it for you. But we have found that some places within our defense establishment, they're reluctant to actually be honest with us about all the requirements that remain unfunded. And thank you for your indulgence, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Sir,
Chairman.
You got my commitment to that, Senator.
Thank you, General Fenton. Next